All right. Hello and welcome to the show. So excited to be with you. This is New England Sports Today. Kentucky. First of all, I want to apologize once again for not being at the time I'm usually at. If you watch it on recording, then anyway, we have a ton to talk about. I needed to wear my Red Sox jersey 2 straight shows in a row because it was a great weekend, to say the least. Let's start with Friday's action, as I was obviously not doing the show on the weekend, so we need to get you caught up with everything that happened. So let's start with Friday's game. Alex Cora was ejected in the first inning. Luis Severino had the loss, so now he goes to 14-5 in 5.2 innings pitched. Allowed 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, and had 2 strikeouts in 115 pitches. So the final score was New York Yankees 1, Boston 4. The hits in favor of Boston 7-1, errors 0 apiece, as the Yankees went to 68-40 at the time. The Red Sox went to 77-34 at the time. And Duhar went 1 for 3 with a solo home run, his 14th of the season. Porcello, on the other hand, pitched a complete game. So impressive. Ian Kinsler did leave the game in the second inning as Mookie Betts played second base after the Kinsler injury. Mookie Betts did go 1 for 4 with a double as the Red Sox defeat the Yankees 4-1. Rick Porcello got the win, so he goes to 14-4 at a complete game, allowed a hit, an earned run, 0 walks, 9 strikeouts in 86 pitches. Saturday's starter was Nathan Eovaldi as the pitcher, and last Sunday versus the Twins got the win. Pitched 7 innings, allowed 4 hits, 0 runs, 0 earned runs, 0 walks to 5 strikeouts, 82 pitches. And on June 15th with Tampa Bay, had a loss at the New York Yankees in 7.1 innings pitched, allowed 8 hits, 5 earned runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. So I'll tell you how he did in Saturday's game later in the show. Also, Julian Edelman is not back to where he would like to be after an ACL injury. The Patriots did acquire wide receiver Cordarrelle Patterson from the Raiders on March 19th, and the Patriots signed wide receiver Eric Decker. The Patriots did continue training camp on Friday. So, yes. Also, Saturday's trivia is who is the last pitcher to throw a complete game with fewer than 90 pitches? Is it Corey Kluber, Rick Porcello, or David Price? Answer that later. Also, Tom Brady turned 41 on Friday. And let's look at a career in review for Tom Brady. These are his career stats. He's played 253 games with 66,159 pass yards, 488 pass touchdowns, 17 rush touchdowns, and, of course, a 5-time Super Bowl champion. That's impressive from him. Also, Big 3 basketball was held Friday night at TD Garden. And players in the Big 3 on Friday night included Glenn Big Baby Davis, the Celtics forward from 2007 to 11, of course, and good to see him play. Also, the Friday night sensation was Shohei Ohtani hit 2 home runs versus the Indians as the Angels defeated the Indians 7-4. And also Freddie Galvis made a terrific catch as the Cubs defeated the Padres 5-4. Also, Brooke Henderson hit a hole-in-one at the British Open. So that's everything we're going to talk about for this first part of the show. We're going to talk about Friday stuff to start off, and of course we'll get into the awesome stuff later on. Also, with Alex Cora ejected in the first inning, it was good to see some emotion from him anyway. I mean, but obviously not happy about Severino really going for Mookie Betts' head after Rick Porcello very much so looked on accident to hit Hicks, was it, I believe, in the arm. And maybe a little payback for that. But Yankees always dirty, and I hate it. But good thing we beat them, especially. I'll tell you how we did later in the series, too. I'm sure you know, but we'll be talking about all of that. Also, of course, speaking of Luis Severino, of course, having the loss, he now goes to 14-5. not the best game from him, allowing 4 runs, 7 hits, and just 5 2/3 innings with 3 walks and just 2 strikeouts. And speaking of 5 2/3 innings, the Red Sox really wore him out because he pitched 115 pitches. So Severino continues his struggle really with the Yankees. So a concern for Yankees fans really, especially if and probably when they play that wild card game. Don't want to jinx anything for the Red Sox. But anyway, good to see the Red Sox win 4-1, of course, with 7 hits. And Porcello pitching a complete game was brilliant to see. And, of course, great to see for the Red Sox as they continue to roll on, really. And also, though, a little bit of a concern is Ian Kinsler did leave the game in the 2nd inning. And Mookie Betts played second base after the Kinsler injury. So not good to see Kinsler get injured, but fun to see Betts play second base where he hasn't played in a long time since the beginning of his career, really. But did a good job there for sure, and fun to see Mookie there. Speaking of Mookie Betts, he did go 1 for 4 with a double, as I mentioned. So pretty good a night for Mookie Betts, but he did even better, as I'll tell you later, in the other games of the series. So Red Sox did defeat the Yankees 4-1 on Friday night, a huge win, and to take the 2-0 series lead. And Rick Porcello got the win, which put him to 14-4. Of course, had a complete game, just allowed a hit, an earned run, but 0 walks with 9 strikeouts in 86 pitches. So great to see Rick Porcello continue to dominate on the mound, really, especially with Chris Sale gone in the series. And I'll discuss how Chris Sale's status is later on the show, too. But great to see Rick Porcello doing great. Also, Nathan Eovaldi did pitch on Saturday, and a great first game for the Red Sox in his debut last Sunday versus the Twins. But I'll tell you how he did later on Saturday. But also, Julian Edelman is not back to where he would like to be after an ACL injury, which might be a concern for the Patriots. As he said, he's not as fit as he wants to be and not doing as well as he expected himself to be doing. So definitely concern from Julian Edelman. Hopefully when he's back from that 4-game suspension, he'll be back to where we saw him 2 years ago now, really. Also, the Patriots did acquire wide receiver Cordarrelle Patterson from the Raiders on March 19th. And Patterson, a pretty good wide receiver, really. And we'll see what impact he can have with the Patriots offense, but definitely interesting to see that. Also, Patriots did sign wide receiver Eric Decker. So it is official. They have signed Eric Decker. And Eric Decker, another wide receiver to the Patriots, list of names that they've been getting, cutting, all of that. And, yeah, it'll be a good battle at that wide receiver position. You can't deny that. Also, the Patriots did continue training camp Friday, so they're still at it. They actually have a little bit more of training camp before their first preseason game. Also, Tom Brady did turn 41 on Friday, as I mentioned, so he's at 41 and still playing. And what a career it's been for Brady. He has in 253 games, 66,159 pass yards, 488 pass touchdowns, 17 rush touchdowns, and a 5-time Super Bowl champion. I mean, Tom Brady really is the GOAT. Still at 41, still breaking all kinds of records. And Tom Brady, happy birthday to him, and hopefully it's a happy birthday for a good season, you know. Also, the Big Three basketball was held Friday night at TD Garden, and I watched the Big Three, and it's a fun league to see retired players get back at it in old-fashioned basketball, really, with the trash talk and all of that. But, yeah, good to see it held at TD Garden on Friday. Glenn Big Baby Davis was on the power. He was the Celtics forward from 2007 to 11, and he actually got the game-winning bucket for the power in that game, in their game. And good to see Big Baby back at the Garden. And what a performance he did put on, too. Still fit and still playing. And he can still drop dimes, really. Also, I'll answer Saturday's trivia right now. Question was, who was the last pitcher to throw a complete game with fewer than 90 pitches? Was it Corey Kluber, Rick Porcello, or David Price? The answer is Rick Porcello on September 19th of 2016. So good to see. He was the last pitcher to throw a complete game with 390 pitches and did it again the other night. Also, Shohei Ohtani did hit 2 home runs versus the Indians. Impressive by Ohtani. Continues to impress this season. Also, Freddie Galvis with a really terrific catch as the Cubs defeat the Padres 5-4. And Brooke Henderson did hit a hole-in-one at the British Open, an impressive hole-in-one if you haven't seen it. And, crazy Friday night sensations, really. All right, so that's our Friday news. Now let's get to Saturday's news. The Red Sox did play the Yankees again. Final score, familiar scoreline. New York Yankees 1, Boston Red Sox 4. Hits in favor of the Red Sox 6-5, 0 errors apiece. So after Saturday's game, the Yankees went to 68-41, and the Red Sox went to 78-34. Adams had the loss as he went to 0-1 in 5 innings pitched, allowed 3 earned runs, had 2 strikeouts and a walk. Eovaldi, on the other hand, got the win. He goes to 5-4 in 8 innings pitched, allowed 0 earned runs with 4 strikeouts and just a walk. So the Red Sox did defeat the Yankees 4-1 again, and Nathan Eovaldi with the win goes to 5-4. As I mentioned, 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. JD Martinez also went 1 for 4 with a solo home run, which put him to 33 on the year. Impressive from JD. Also, Tanaka, heading into last night's game, Tanaka was 9-2 and Price was 11-6. I'll tell you how that went later on. So speaking of yesterday's game, yesterday's starters for the Yankees and Red Sox was Masahiro Tanaka versus David Price. Tanaka, the right-handed pitcher this season, was 9-2 with a 3.84 ERA, and his career at Boston was 4-2 with a 4.09 ERA heading into the game. Price, on the other hand, the left-handed pitcher, heading into the game for the Red Sox this season was 11-6 with a 3.97 ERA, and his career versus the New York Yankees was 15-13 with a 4.90 ERA. So I'll tell you how that went later on. Also, the Red Sox did place second baseman Ian Kinsler on the 10-day DL with a left hamstring strain, so unfortunate there. Also, wide receiver Eric Decker did make his New England practice debut, and the Patriots training camp has continued on. So there is a new kid on the block. Eric Decker last season played 16 games with 54 receptions, 563 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 65.1 catch percentage with the Titans. Also a report that running back Sony Michel is to miss at least 10 days due to a knee procedure. Sunday's trivia was who holds the NFL single-season record for most touchdowns receiving? Is it Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, or Jerry Rice? We'll answer that later. Speaking of Randy Moss, he entered the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's second all-time with 156 touchdown receptions. Price, his last outing versus the New York Yankees before last night had a loss in 3.1 innings pitched, allowed 9 hits, 8 runs, 5 home runs, and had just 3 strikeouts. I'll tell you if it went better or worse for him last night. I'll be discussing that. Also, Yankees Red Sox was for last night's game. It was Tanaka 9-2, 3.84 ERA versus Price 11-6, 3.97 ERA heading into that one. Also, the Saturday night sensation, Francisco Lindor made a stellar play as the Indians defeated the Angels 3-0. And also, Carlos Gomez was joking around as the White Sox defeated the Rays 2-1. I'll get into more of that later. So that's all of Saturday's news we're going to get to talk about now. Red Sox winning once again 4-1 on Saturday. And Eovaldi getting the win now at 5-4 in 8 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and just 1 walk. Eovaldi has certainly been impressive for this Red Sox team since he's arrived, and definitely what Red Sox fans wanted from Eovaldi, and maybe weren't expecting, but definitely wanted to see that, and he has been phenomenal. So Red Sox defeat the Yankees once again 4-1, and they won the first three. I'll tell you how the fourth one went later on, but a huge win for the Red Sox. Also, JD Martinez went 1 for 4 with a solo home run, as I mentioned. 33 on the year. He retakes the league leading home runs. And JD Martinez continues to hit home runs, really. He's been absolutely impressive. Tanaka did take on Price yesterday. And comparing the two, it was a good matchup heading in, I'd say. And I'll tell you who came out on top in the end later on. Bad news, though, as the Red Sox did play second baseman Ian Kinsler on the 10-day DL. Not good to see that, as he just came to the Red Sox about a week ago. And we saw him wincing in pain as he crossed home plate on Friday night's game. But looks like he'll be out for a little bit anyway with a left hamstring strain. Wide receiver Eric Decker did make a New England practice debut, so could he be the future at the wide receiver position for this Patriots team? Definitely seems like it might be, and good to see Eric Decker as Patriots training camp has continued. We'll keep an eye on every second of Patriots training camp. And Eric Decker last season, as I mentioned, 16 games, 54 receptions, 563 yards, 1 touchdown, a 65.1 catch percentage with the Titans. So pretty good last season. So if he can do that with the Patriots, definitely be a big help at the wide receiver position. And Eric Decker, who knows? He could be great, especially under Bill Belichick. You got to expect that. Also, a report that running back Sony Michel is to miss at least 10 days due to a knee procedure. Not good at all to see that, but hopefully 10 days is it for him as a knee procedure. Nothing good to see that, because Sony Michel definitely an important piece to this Patriots team, especially having that experience at Georgia going to the college football playoff final. And he definitely helped this team later on in the season. Randy Moss, good to see him enter the Pro Football Hall of Fame, second all-time with 156 touchdown receptions. And, of course, he mentioned that Bill Belichick was a huge reason for his success at New England. And Randy Moss going to the Hall of Fame. It's good to see more Patriots legends go there. So, speaking of football and stuff, the trivia question was, who holds the NFL single-season record for most touchdowns receiving? Is it Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, or Jerry Rice? The answer is Randy Moss with 23 touchdowns in 2007. So, going back to Price, to Red Sox, Price's last outing versus the New York Yankees was not good at all. And so I'll tell you how he did last night, and to see if he turned it around, because not a good outing at all, to be honest. So it was Tanaka versus Price. And going back to the Saturday night sensation, Francisco Lindor with a stellar play, to say the least. Impressive as the Indians beat the Angels 3-0. Also, Carlos Gomez was really joking around as the White Sox defeated the Rays 2-1. Talking about that, he got hit by a pitch and really faked a really bad injury. But he was all right, and quite strange things from Tropicana Field, really. But yeah, that's all of Saturday's news. Now let's get to Sunday's news, yesterday's news. The Red Sox did end their series with the Yankees, and the final score, New York Yankees 4, Boston Red Sox 5 in 10 innings, happening on ESPN last night. So the Yankees now are at 68-42. Red Sox are at 79-34. A huge series win in a sweep, too. Gregorius was 0 for 4 with a strikeout. On the other hand, Betts was 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 walks. So huge to see that, as Boston defeated the New York Yankees 5-4. And the Red Sox did complete a 4-game sweep. And Benintendi also had the winning hit in the 10th inning, as Boston defeated the Yankees 5-4. And good to see that. So now let's take a look at the AL East standings. Right now, it's Boston at 79-34. The New York Yankees at 68-42, 9.5 games behind. That's right. Tampa Bay 56-56, 22 games behind. Toronto 51 and 60, 26.5 games behind. And Baltimore 34 and 78, 44 games behind. So Red Sox taking the biggest lead they have this whole season on the Yankees. We'll be discussing that later. Also, Chris Sale with a left shoulder injury, not expected to start in Toronto. It's maybe a little bit of more of a concern for this Red Sox team. But so here are the Red Sox probable pitchers at Toronto. It will be Drew Pomeranz tomorrow. The left-handed pitcher has started 10 games with a record of 1-5, a 6.56 ERA, just 43 strikeouts. Brian Johnson will start Wednesday, also the left-handed pitcher. 7 games started is 2-3 with a 3.74 ERA, 63 strikeouts. And Rick Porcello will start Thursday. The right-handed pitcher has started 23 games with a 14-4 record, a 3.84 ERA, and 135 strikeouts. Also, Eduardo Rodriguez with an ankle injury did throw off the mound Sunday at Fenway Park, so good to see that. Rodriguez this season is 11-3 with a 3.44 ERA, 110 strikeouts, and a 1.22 WHIP. So that's good. Also, Matt Kenseth finished 29th in the NESN Ford Fusion car at Watkins Glen, but it was cool to see that. Also, today's trivia is who was the last team to win at least 100 games and finish 8+ games out of first, which might be what the Yankees do this season. Was it the Athletics, Tigers, or Yankees? Also, the overnight sensation was Mariners Nick robbed a Dodger home run as the Los Angeles Dodgers did defeat Houston 3-2. And also, Kiermaier made a running grab as the Chicago White Sox defeated Tampa Bay 8-7. That's the last part of things we're going to talk about on today's show. Let's start with the Red Sox. A huge win versus the Yankees on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball last night, 5-4, and really it seemed at one point like they weren't going to do it. Down 4-1 in the ninth, tying it up 4-4 on an error from New York, and then of course Benintendi getting the winning hit to make it 5-1. So the Red Sox now at 79-34, Yankees at 68-42. Gregorius with a really not good game considering his standards. And Betts, on the other hand, going 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 walks. So Betts back on fire, really. Never has slowed down this season, to be honest. So they did defeat the Yankees 5-4. They completed a 4-game sweep, which is the best you could ask for as a Red Sox fan, sweeping the Yankees. Something that doesn't come around too often. Maybe winning more series than they do, but a sweep really something special. And it's absolutely huge for the Red Sox. And also, Benintendi did have the game-winning hit in the 10th inning, a huge hit to win the game, a long game, really. It took about 5 hours. I did stay up for it, I will admit. The game ended around 12:54 a.m. Eastern time. And but I slept in, had nothing planned today, but so that's good. Going back to the AL East standings, Boston 9.5 games above the Yankees. They're in absolute cruise control. You'd have to think they've come close to securing that first place spot. And it'd be hard to imagine the Yankees coming back from that deficit. As before the series, 5.5 games back. Worst nightmare for the Yankees going 9.5 games back at the end of that series. But crazy stuff as believe it or not, the Yankees might get closer to Tampa Bay than they do to Boston, as Tampa Bay is the Yankees are 11.5 games 12.5 games above Tampa Bay. Yeah, still a little ways to go, but they couldn't get closer to Tampa Bay than they are the Red Sox, which is crazy to think about, really, as you wouldn't expect that heading into that series for sure. Also, a little bit of bad news as Chris Sale is not expected to start in Toronto, which is definitely a concern because we knew he wasn't going to start versus the Yankees, but we definitely expected him to be back versus Toronto. But it's not to be. It seems like he's out, and a bit of concern for the Red Sox. Not too much because with the way they're playing, not too much to worry about. But we'll keep an eye on that for sure. So Red Sox probable pitchers at Toronto is Drew Pomeranz tomorrow, Brian Johnson Wednesday, Rick Porcello Thursday. So Pomeranz, he's been all right, a better outing last time around, but not the best. Not really that good so far. So always a worry when Pomeranz is on the mound, but we'll see how he does against Toronto. Brian Johnson once again will be replacing Sale on Wednesday. Had a great game the other night replacing Sale. Let's see if he can do it again. Also, Rick Porcello, he has continually dominated and has put up great performances. So we'll see how Rick Porcello does on Thursday. If he plays the way he has, should be no worry for the Red Sox. Also, good to see Eduardo Rodriguez throw off the mound Sunday at Fenway Park. It seems like he's recovering and his ankle's a lot better from that horrific injury, really. And we'll see if Erod will be back into the rotation anytime soon. This season, he's definitely can add to that Red Sox dominant rotation when they're healthy for sure. Also, good to see Matt Kenseth go in a Nesson Ford Fusion car at Watkins Glen. That was cool to see. Also, we'll answer today's trivia right now. Question was, who was the last team to win at least 100 games and finished 8 or more games out of first? Was it the Athletics, Tigers, or Yankees? The answer is the 2001 Athletics. They went 102-60, but were 14 games behind Seattle. Pretty crazy to think about. Seattle that year getting the all-time record, the all-time best record in the history of an 162-game season. Also, overnight sensation, Marisnick did rob a Dodger home run as the Dodgers defeated Houston 3-2. Quite the rob, really, as he was pumped about it. Also, Kiermaier made a running grab at the warning track as the Chicago White Sox did defeat Tampa Bay 8-7. So that's all we got today. A lot we had to cover, really. But I hope you enjoyed the show. A lot of Red Sox. Also, one more thing I want to stick in at the end. Revolution did play Orlando City on Saturday night. Unfortunately, getting a 3-3 draw out of it. At least not coming away empty-handed. But the way the Revolution played, you definitely would have thought they should have had the win with a couple costly mistakes from the Revolution. But we'll see how they continue to do. But anyway, we'll be talking about more Revolution later in the week. Of course, Red Sox, Patriots training camp, all of that. We'll have you covered. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you're all caught up. I bet you are. I had a lot to say, but we'll see you next time. And thanks for tuning in. Bye.